Hi, welcome to Fleet Friday. I'm Lieutenant Ginger Wortman at Station 402, which is located at the corner of York Road and State Route 40. So we'll take a look at our truck. So from the cab purposes, it's basically similar to a pickup truck. We've got our driver's seat and we've got our passenger seat, which is where our in-charge medic sits. Both of us, we still have our seat belts and we have all the safety features and all the features that your regular vehicle would have. We've got cruise control, we've got our headlights and all the other regular things. So to sit up front would be like no different than sitting in a pickup truck. Moving on to the box is where we start to kind of sort the difference out between the pickup truck versus the medic itself. Inside the truck, we've got a couple of things in our outside compartment. One of them being, we've got a large oxygen bottle. With our large oxygen bottle, we're able to provide oxygen to the patient. It's plumbed throughout the truck, which we'll see in a few minutes. And we also have two, what we call SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus. Those are what we more familiarly known as our air packs that we wear. Why do we have air packs on our medic? Because a lot of our trucks are cross-manned. So there's times where the medics could be coming back from the hospital or be in this truck and we get a call for a fire. So we need to be able to have our air packs to be able to perform as firefighters as well, as much as we function as medics. So we keep two air packs because usually the truck has two, sometimes three people on it. Moving into our next compartment, the space is kind of empty here. That would normally be where we would have turnout gear for one of the crew members because we want to keep our gear separated out from our working space. We've got traffic cones in case we need to be out on the road. We also have a halogen and we have an axe in here in case we need to make a forcible entry into somebody's home. If somebody's hurt or they're down and they can't get to the door, we need to be able to have tools to be able to get in to the residence. We also have a fire extinguisher just because we want to be prepared. Moving into our back compartment is one that we use quite a bit. Again, it has an open space. This would be for the second set of turnout gear. We've got vacuum splints. If we get somebody with a broken leg, we've got splints that we're able to kind of help fix to hold them over until we get them to the hospital. We also have a couple bags up here. One of them is a pediatric specific bag. It's designed basically for us to be able to handle kids. As we know, we all get kind of anxious with children, so we've got a bag that helps us to be prepared by having everything we need for our kids in one place. We also have a regular, what we call our first in bag. It's a first in bag because it's the bag that we're taking with us when we go into the residence or the business, wherever we're going. It has a series of our blood pressure cuffs. We can do vitals, we can check a blood sugar, we can have some bandages to be able to control bleeding if we need to. The green bottle is our little oxygen bottle. And I say little because it's also called a portable oxygen bottle. Because if we didn't have this one, it's not very feasible for us to take that great big green one that we saw a minute ago. That's not very feasible for us to take with us. So the little green one's a lot more handy for us to use, and we can refill it here at the station. We'll take a look at the next, we'll move to the other side of the truck. We'll talk about the inside here in just a minute. We'll spend some time there. So on the inside of our truck, in the back outside compartment, this would be our backboard area with, again, more splints and things that we would need. We also have seat collars and blanket rolls. Those are what we use if we've got somebody that's been injured from a fall or critically injured from a car accident. These are some of the tools that we're going to use to be able to help stabilize them until we can get them to the hospital. The other thing we have is what we call a stair chair. The stair chair helps us to be able to get somebody out of their house, say they're upstairs in an older house and our cot doesn't fit. The stair chair comes out and we're able to unfold it, put the patient on it, get them down to a level where we have our cot, and then we can transfer the patient. It's an extremely handy piece of equipment to have on our truck. And this little tiny one, don't be disappointed by how small the compartment is for the things that are stored inside it. This is our water rescue. As we talked about on the last Fleet Friday, the rescue truck has all of the big water rescue equipment in the suits. Our truck has got the little bags on it. So basically each truck, the medics included, have personal flotation devices, basically life jackets. We have life jackets and we also have throw ropes with throw bags. So if we get there first before the rescue does, we have to make sure that we're safe. So we put our life jackets on to work around the water, and we have a rope so that if we can, we still see the victim, we can throw them a rope and start that rescue before the team gets there to finish and to continue to work on the rescue. So that's the compartment that houses all of our, the medics' water rescue. We're gonna close this door just for a quick second. Our other one is kind of an interesting compartment. It's a two-fold compartment. From the outside access, we already have a piece of equipment that sits here sitting out because we're going to explain it a little bit in detail. This blue bag is another bag that we use. It's called our airway bag. This bag has got everything that we need to be able to manage somebody's airway. If we get there and they're not breathing, we have equipment to be able to do endotracheal intubations. We have tools to be able to do video. We can actually use the video camera and look when we're doing our intubations to make sure that we're accurate, because accuracy matters when we're doing advanced procedures like that. We also have what we call salvage airways, which are other airways that we can use if we're not able to perform one airway. There's always a backup plan. It's kind of like with the fire service and EMS, we always have a plan A and a plan B. So we want to be able to do that. And it also has another one of those little oxygen bottles inside it. It has a handful of other different things for us to be able to start IVs. It also has first-line medications. We've come leaps and bounds from the years when we just put somebody in the back of the truck. Usually it was a hearse and it drove to the hospital very fast. We've come a long way from those days, and now we carry a lot of medications that we're able to administer based on what the patient needs and based off our protocol. Technology has affected all of us, fire service and EMS included. As you'll notice, we've got a couple of computers in the truck, and you might think, like, why in the world do we need two different computers? The first computer is pulled up and you'll see a small screen inside a big screen. That small screen is what we get our dispatch notes from. People call 911 and then we get the information. So we're actually seeing the information that you're giving the dispatcher. So if you've called 911 and you're telling us that you have a 65-year-old who's having chest pain, the dispatcher is typing in that information and we see it live time, so that we're able to be better prepared to handle the emergency when we get to your house. So that's why it becomes important for us to have good information when we're talking with the dispatchers, because we do see that information. We also have a tablet on the bottom that's our reporting software. We started out with pen and paper, and now we've advanced to where we've got the computer, so we're able to go paperless. We do our reports on the computer, and we actually electronically send them to the hospital, so that there's no longer a delay as far as to get the paper reports done and leave them at the hospital. We don't spend near the time at the hospital now because we can electronically send those reports versus we used to have to sit at the hospital and write those reports out. It'd take a lot longer if you had a critical patient where we'd be at the hospital. Now our turnaround time is better. What does a turnaround time mean? Turnaround time means that if it's shorter, we can spend more time in West Lickings area protecting our population. Another piece I wanted to highlight that we talked about that was in the compartment but I got out is Lucas. Lucas is a device that helps us do CPR. One of the big things that we find is that with our high quality CPR is that we need to be consistent and it needs to be regular at a set depth. So what we're able to do with Lucas is Lucas doesn't know if it's sitting still or if it's moving. So we're able to put this on the patient. Patient lays on top of the plate, the device clips over top of their chest, and we're able to set the plunger and set the rate for it to be able to do CPR. So the few things that we find is that when we're doing CPR, we get tired. And the other thing is, if we're doing CPR on the way to the hospital, that ride to the hospital sometimes isn't always the best as we're trying to navigate traffic and be able to get to the hospital with street lights and different things. So this is a device that we have on all of our medics and is able to help us to perform high quality CPR. Now that we've moved to the inside of the truck, we can see some of the other features of our medics. We've got a refrigerator. No, it's not for snacks and water. There are actually some medications that we use that require refrigeration. So the temperature control is important. So we have a refrigerator that we're able to do that, to keep our medications. On the same side that we need to keep some things cool, we also need to keep some things warm. So the little orange bag that's down here to the bottom left is actually an IV warmer. We keep 3 liters of fluid in there, because especially as we know, especially today in days coming into the winter with Ohio, we're into cold weather. So the ways we want to be able to warm people up is to be able to use warm IV fluid. So we're able to do that. We keep it all year long because we know through our training and through our education that warm patients do much better than cold patients. So you may find us even in the summertime using warm fluid to help a patient for their survivability. We've also got a kit up here that helps us for the patients that are diabetic. We do a lot of diabetic emergencies. So we have a kit designed that we're able to take with us. It has all of those things specific to diabetic care right here at our fingertips. So we're not trying to find it in 3 different places. We have one bag that we can take and has everything we need. We also have a few little spare parts and pieces of things that we keep. We keep things in our mainline drawers, but we also, the cabinets become like your kitchen cabinets at home. We have a stack of things, we have a supply. So as we use something, we've got something else that we can replace it from on our way back from the hospital. The outside compartment that I told you earlier was a two-fold compartment. This is the inside view of that outside compartment, and we just saw the inside of the compartment that we couldn't see. It stays secured because it's got medications inside. Turning next, as we mentioned with storage compartments, we talked about using the oxygen. This is the area where the oxygen bottle resides. So we're able to access it from inside if we need to, as well as from the outside to change that bottle. We keep spare oxygen masks and some different equipment here in the compartments. We've got spare gloves. You'll see that we have gloves here above the door. Nice way to have those, because as we're getting out of the truck, it's one of the first things that we need and one of the last things that we remember as we grab out the door. So we're able to, as we get out of the truck, we've got gloves very handily available. We also keep spare gloves in the compartments. And again, as you see through the compartments, our spare airway. We mentioned that blue airway bag that had different equipment in it as far as for our endotracheal intubations, our backup airways, our plan Bs. So those are all kept, and everything is strategically placed to be close, where if we need something from the truck while we're working on a patient, the compartments are close and the equipment that we need is readily available for us to be able to utilize. Moving on down through the other compartments, you'll see that we have a lot of blankets. It's Ohio. We do the air conditioning in one day and the heat in the same day. So we stay prepared with having extra blankets. Again, extra equipment for our pediatrics, for burn management, and other first aid requirements that we may have. The compartment that had all of our bags, we can actually access it from inside as well. So if we get in the truck and we need something out of it, we don't have to stop the truck. We can open the compartment and get what we need out. Maximizing the storage, and pretty much everywhere on the Medic, we store extra suction containers. Sometimes we have to clear somebody's airway by using suction. We have a unit that's here mounted close to the patient's head, which is usually where we need to use that suction. A control panel, again, another computer, a control panel that helps us to be able to, do we need to dim the lights? Do we need to brighten the lights? Do we need to turn the heater on? Do we need a vent fan? All of those options are right here at our disposal with a touch screen, including the vacuum or the suction. Both sides, you'll see, have drawers. And when those drawers, you're going to see that we've got medications and we have our IV supplies. We get in the back of the truck, we need to be able to manage a patient. This gives us an option to be able to get the IVs out and the tools that we need to start those IVs. And our other drawer has got our medications in it. And we keep the medications that are based off our protocol that we're able to keep handy, that we're able to use them. Usually we're sitting right here on the bench seat treating our patient, so our medications are close. There's two more drawers on the other side. They keep an overflow. If the patient's really sick, two of us might be trying to get an IV started. So there's supplies on both sides of the truck, again, to maximize efficiency. It's all about what we can do to help make our patient care efficient and beneficial to them. You'll see the little oxygen manifolds. We've got one over here and we have two over here. We have different types of oxygen that we can give patients, or I guess it's the same oxygen, but different methods of delivering it. We have one that requires a higher flow, so we have a regulator for that. And for our regular nasal cannulas, a lot of us have seen family members or loved ones that have the cannula that they wear all the time. These are the flow meters that you may say, I recognize those. You do, they're the same ones. Very similar, and we can control the rate on them for us to be able to deliver oxygen that's coming again from that big bottle that we saw outside. Along with our other features we have of our truck, we showed you our Lucas device, which helps us do CPR. One of our other big key components of our truck is our heart monitor. Our heart monitor actually does a handful of things, and quite amazingly. It will monitor somebody's heart rate. We can take somebody's blood pressure and it'll come up on the screen. We can put a little clip or sensor on your finger and be able to tell your oxygen levels. We also are able to look at what they call capnography, which gives us a really good reading of how you're actually perfusing and using the oxygen that you're breathing and how well your body's doing. It's kind of a new and improved pulse oximetry, if you would. So we have sensors that we can plug in, and the monitor is actually able to read all of those things. It can print out paper as we do what we call a 12 lead, which is one of the other features it does. We place leads on the patient. You may see this if you've ever seen us in action, one of our 5 trucks on the multiple calls that we handle in the district. You may see, what are those wires they're putting on people? Well, those wires are these heart monitor leads that we're putting on you so we can see a tracing of your heart. Now, it's only a snapshot of what's going on, but it helps us to understand what the problem is. Is it a heart problem? Is it a lung problem? We can manage the patients based off of what we're finding and not just off of the symptoms that we're seeing. We put it all together. One of the really neat features of these heart monitors, though, is we can transmit data to the hospital. So if we know that we're going to a specific facility and somebody's having a heart attack, we think someone's having a heart attack, we put them on the monitor, we put the other leads on, and we do what we call a 12 lead. So we're going to do a full EKG, kind of like what you have done in the doctor's office, but we're doing it at the bedside. We're doing it maybe right there in your living room chair. We can hit a button and we can send it to that hospital. We can let the hospital know, hey, we've sent you a 12 lead EKG. The ER doctor is reading it while we're en route to the hospital. So not only are we reading that EKG and able to properly treat the patient, the doctor also is looking at that. And with the doctor is able to say, hey, this is what's going on. We need to get the teams ready. So the hospital now is better prepared because we've given them a heads up that we're coming into the hospital, and they have the hard data that they're seeing from our initial treatment to be able to make patient outcomes better for most important people, the people of our district and those that are passing through. We look at not just the residents of the district. We have a lot of roads, so we have a lot of people that are just commuting through. Those guys matter just as much as the people of the district do. So we've got a monitor that's able to help us immensely with being able to transmit data. Also, the data that we collect on the way to the hospital, remember that computer that was sitting up front and that laptop, and I said that we could transmit data? They talk to each other. So along with that paperless transition, the monitor, we can tell it to, hey, send that data to our report. And it will actually send that data over to the report so that we have extremely accurate information based on live time when we did things to be able to put into our report to make our report be more accurate as we send it into the hospital. One of the other things I mentioned, talking to the hospital. Well, how do we do that? I don't see a phone in the back of the truck. So what we do have are radios. In that radio system, you'll see some sticky notes and different notes written on the back of the truck here. Those are for us to be able to communicate with the hospital. We have the potential of multi-counties. We've gone to Fairfield County to hospitals. We've gone to Muskingum County to hospitals. We go to Licking County, and we also go to Franklin County for hospitals. And Fairfield as well, if I didn't mention that earlier. We've got a couple places in Fairfield that we transport to. We have it programmed into our radio system that we're able to dial up that hospital and give them a report. So when we're about, say, 5-10 minutes out, we call the hospital and say, hey, just letting you know that we're on our way, and here's what our patient is. So we'll give them the brief rundown, so to speak, of our patient that we're bringing, again, so that they can be better prepared and place us in a more appropriate room right out of, as we initially get to the ER, instead of having the ER have to spend that time to figure it out. It's all about what makes our patient outcomes better. West Licking does have a great patient outcome success right now, especially with cardiac arrests. And as a final reminder, I just want to let everybody know that early CPR saves lives.